G'day groovers, rockers and in between. This is Vinyl Vibes. I'm your host, Jack Hodgins. We are talking with Terry Buzzy Johnson on Vinyl Vibes today. Terry is best known as being a member of the 1950s doo-wop group, the Flamingos. At the age of 16, Terry joined his first group, the Whispers, in 1955. It was with this group he wrote and recorded music for the first time. In late 1956, Terry joined the Flamingos as a tenor singer and song arranger. Some of his early songs of the group included The Ladder of Love and Helpless. However, it is the Flamingos' 1959 hit, I Only Have Eyes for You, which they are best remembered for. Terry was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a member of the Flamingos in 2001, and as of 2023 is still recording music. G'day Terry, and welcome to Vinyl Vibes.
Well, thank you. Glad to be there.
Let's start off at the beginning, Terry. You were born in 1938 in Baltimore, Maryland. What do you remember of growing up?
I was sort of a loner. When I was a kid, I had a few friends, but not a lot of friends. I was always into myself, what I wanted to do. And I lived on the street, Whitecoat Street, in Baltimore, Maryland. And luckily, down the street from me was the lead singer of the Orioles, Sonny. And on the other side of the street facing him was Earl Hurley of the Swallows. And up the street across from me was J.R. Bailey of the Cadillacs. So it was a lot of musicians and singers on my block where I lived. So I was influenced heavily by Sonny. I would go to the the Royal Theater in Baltimore. I would go there as a kid and watch this guy sing, and I don't know, I wanted to imitate him. You know what I mean? So the way he sang, he would bend over to his left and bend when he was like really let those notes out, and the girls would go crazy for him. And so I developed that habit. And in school, I would when the teacher would leave, she'll leave us with an assignment. She said, I'll be back in about 15 minutes. All the little girls in my class and the guys would say, Terry, sing Sonny Joe. Get up and sing Sonny Joe. I said, no, man. Say, sing Sonny Joe. I said, I'll get in trouble. Oh, come on, man, sing Sonny Joe. So I would get up and sing one of his songs like Proud of You, or so many of his songs that I love so much at night. And I would sing, and wouldn't you know it, every time the teacher would come back sooner than she said, and she would always catch me. And but she would really be angry with me. She would say, "You have a very nice voice, but you're in school. I'm here to teach you. I'm not teaching you music, so I'd like you to stick more to what you're supposed to be doing." Okay. I was sitting on my steps one evening, and Earl Hurley of the Swallows was walking on the street, and he was playing his guitar. He had a acoustic guitar he was playing. I said, "Whoa, man, wait! Oh, I love what that? That's a guitar, right?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Play that what you just played." So he played some beautiful chords and music for me, and I said, "Would you teach me?" I mean, I was bold, so he said, "I'll do the best I can." He said, "It all depends on how fast you are." I said, I'm fast. So he showed me the first chord, and my fingers were sore for about 3 weeks, but I kept practicing what he showed me. And then I saw him more and more, and he started teaching me more and more. I talked with Sonny a lot about how he got started, and I loved his group, but I loved his voice. And so I became friends with the neighbors in the music industry.
How did you form your first group, the Whispers, in 1954?
This was around 54, 55. I put a group together called the Whispers out of Baltimore. And we would go to clubs and little places to, like not audition. They were like almost like amateurs. Amateur hour, like there'd be a bunch of groups, and we would be there, and we made sure we had these light blue, like sky blue suits with white shirts, a red straight tie, and a red puff, and we were always sharper than anybody on the show, and we won every time. And, we didn't lose any of the programs that we appeared on. So I don't know. I started listening to music, and I from what Earl had showed me on the guitar, I started writing songs. So I wrote a song called Are You Sorry? And the second one was called Fool Heart. I have a fool heart in love. And Billy Thompson, he wrote We're Getting Married, and Bill Mills, he wrote Don't Mess with Lizzie or something like that. And we went to New York, and we went to the biggest record companies there, and we were new. They didn't know us, and New York was fast. And, you only had a few minutes to talk, and it was either then, and we were very disappointed. We played our songs for the, of what we were singing, but we had our other songs that we wanted them to hear, but nobody really wanted to take our time to listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't famous. And we left New York, and I remember this so well. We stopped in New York, downtown, ready to go through the Lincoln Tunnel, and we said, I'm hungry. So we went into the store just to get some snacks, and I left my guitar in the back window of our car and left the windows down because it was hot. It was in the summer. And when I came out, my guitar was gone. Broken hearted. I didn't know how fast New Yorkers were, but they ripped me off. They got my guitar. And so we were, I was more downhearted than they were because it was my guitar. So on our way back to Baltimore or Eugene, we called them lumpheads. His name was Eugene Lewis. We stopped in Philadelphia, and he said, I called this guy at Gotham Records. He said, let's stop by. I said, I don't have a guitar. He said, well, we'll sing a cappella wherever. So we stopped past, and the guy was very nice to us. Nothing like New York. He was very friendly. And so he said, so you have some original songs, I hear. I said, yes. So he said, what do you need? I have a band that's, they're just in the studio just playing around. I said, well, somebody sold my guitar in New York. He said, well, I can get your guitar. Let me hear your stuff. I played the 4 songs for him, and we sang them. Our harmonies were great. Mm-hmm. And he was so impressed that he said, I want to sign you guys to my record label. He said, I said, okay, great. When? He said, now. Such an exciting moment in my life. I'm going to record at a record company. Mm-hmm. And we went in the studio, and I played my parts for the band, the musicians in the studio, and I played my song. They said, that's kind of nice. I like that. And I played again. They listened to it. Then the bass player picked up the bass, and the piano player played, and the drummer, he played on the drums. We recorded 4 songs within an hour and a half. And at Gotham Records in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, we were big time. And we left, and he said he'll be in touch with us, and he wanted to get the song out as soon as possible. He chose Fool Heart in Love first. And then he wanted to do Are You Sorry? And I can remember when we got back home, we were excited. Oh, we're in the big time. We hit the big time. And I would listen to this radio station, and finally I heard it on the radio. Oh, was I walking on cloud 9. I was so excited. The guy, the DJ's name was Hot Rod Huntley. And he was the biggest guy in Baltimore to play good music. And he loved it. And after about a week and a half, I didn't hear my song anymore. And we called Gotham Records, and they said, well, we're having a little problem here, and we'll get back to you. They never got back to us. I don't know what happened, but that was a real letdown for us.
So what ended up happening to the Whispers?
We started having little problems within the group, the Whispers, and the bass singer, he stole my girlfriend. And I couldn't take it. Since I put the group together, it was my group. So I fired him, and I got this other guy who really had a stronger, heavy voice. His name was James Johnson. And we were doing what we were doing, and then we just kind of stopped. And I was always crazy about the Five Keys singing group. I've heard of the Flamingos, but the Five Keys was my favorite group. They sang out of sight, out of mind. So the story goes, you forgot I exist. My broken heart knows I mean, those kind of songs, you know what I mean? So, like, they were playing at the Royal Theater, so I went to see them, and they were my boys, and they were sharp and singing smooth. And then the closers of the show was the Flamingos. And it was something about these guys when they walked on the stage, it was like they floated on the stage. They were so smooth. And they sang beautiful. And they sang with, you know, like they had high tenor voices, which I sing high tenor and I sing baritone. So I love what I heard them doing. Mm-hmm. And they were dancing and doing splits. And one guy would be jumping with his legs open. The other guy would slide through his legs and he'd get up and do splits. And I mean, excitement. All of a sudden, I saw myself on stage. I was sitting in my chair in the theater, but I saw me. I saw myself at stage with a beautiful black guitar. But my guitar wasn't black, but I saw myself up there. So I knew two of the guys because we belonged to the same synagogue. We were Hebrews, and we had our synagogue. And so I knew two of the guys in the Flamingos. I went backstage and I told them, I said, man, this is a weird thing. I don't know what it meant. Like, when you guys came on stage, I saw myself on stage with you. And I was up there playing my guitar and singing with you. What? You know, they thought I was nuts. But Nate Nelson, he was the lead singer at that time, and he said, hey, man, do you know any, Zeke Carey, he said he just got inducted into the Army. And Johnny Carter was inducted, and Tommy Hunt took Johnny Carter's place. And he said, we're looking for somebody to play an instrument, like a piano or bass or guitar. I said, I'll play guitar. He said, can you read? I said, yeah. I said, yeah, I've learned quite a bit. So he said, will you want to come down and audition for us? You come tomorrow? I said, sure. I brought my guitar and my amplifier, and they put the music in front of me, and I started playing it, and they were impressed by it. And then they said, it sounds pretty good. And you say you sing tenor and baritone? I said, yeah, I have my songs. So luckily I had my records. And we had a record player in their dressing room, and I played Are You Sorry? And they looked at each other and said, yeah. They looked at me and they said, we'll get back in touch with you. We're still auditioning people, but we like you. We like you, and we like your music. We like what you just played for us. So that was around the beginning part of September. September went by, I didn't hear from them. October went by, I didn't hear from them. November went by, my birthday was in November. I got downhearted. I said, they were just jabbing. They weren't serious. Forget about it. And Christmas Eve of 1956, Jake Curry called me. He was in Philadelphia. He said, my nickname is Buzzy. I said, Buzzy? I said, yeah. He said, this is Jake. Oh, hey, Jake, how you doing? He said, I'm doing good. He said, you still want to be a Flamingo? Yeah. He said, well, we want you in the group. And meet me in Philadelphia tomorrow, which will be Christmas Day. And we're going up to New York and get together with the guys. And, we'll start rehearsing. That was the most exciting thing in my life at that time, because now I'm with a professional group. I didn't have to prove myself. And when I got with them, my parents didn't let me listen to R&B music, black music. They played things like Arthur Godfrey, and I can't even think of all of it. Julius LaRosa, the McGuire sisters, Steve and Edie Gourmet, people like that. So I was into listening to that kind of music, and also like classical music, because that's when my parents played. And I started playing not R&B music for them when I came up to my songs, and they said, no, wait, no. So we can't use that. That's not. No. That's white music. I said, well, music is music. How can you say it's white music? It's music. And they said, well, I don't think so, man. I know, let's stick with what we do. I said, well, you wanted me here to show you music and to do what I do, and that I'll go along with you, but I like the other kind of music, because like nobody else is doing that anyway. All the black groups are singing do that kind of music, or the beautiful ballads like Sonny Chill, but it was still R&B music, which is rhythm and blues. And when our first job, we went to Florida, I remember, and we needed songs besides just the Flamingo song. So I got together with Paul Wilson. He was my best friend in the group. And we would sing together. And I said, come on, I said, let's do this song. I said, because we need songs. And I don't know this other stuff. So, wake up, little Susie, wake up. You're like, what? I said, no. He said, that's kind of like hillbilly stuff. I said, no, it's not. I said, it's on the radio now. I mean, that's the Everly Brothers. And then, what are you talking about, brother? He's like, I said, come on, man, let's be different. Let's really hit him hard. Let's be different. And I talked him into it, and he sang. We sang it. We listened to the record. We learned the parts, and I played the guitar. When I took it to the guys, they said, no way. I said, we have to have songs. All you guys are doing is slow songs. We need fast songs, and we need something different. Let's do something fresh. Let's be fresh. Do something different.
So, Terry, what do you remember from your early gigs with the Flamingos?
First job was in Miami Beach. It was called Rockin' MD, which is Rockin' Miami Beach. And this big club, Bucky Gray was his name. And we came in, and I played my guitar with a rhythm that no matter what we played, you didn't need the rest of the band, because I had a rhythm that just kept everybody. We could dance. They were doing the splits and all that stuff with me just playing the guitar. When we sang the right music for him, he got excited. He started calling his friends and other club owners and said, check this out. He said, these Flamingos, they're good. And they dance. They do everything. And our name got really big, and we left there, and we, matter of fact, we had a long run with them. We had almost like 3 or 4 months in Miami Beach. We couldn't sit on the beach, of course. We put us over in Miami. I'm not embarrassed to say it, but at that time, that's what it was. We had to stay in King James Hotel, a motel, had a swimming pool. It was really clean. It was nice, but it was on the black side or the Negro side of Miami. That's where we could stay, because you couldn't stay in the white places. White hotels, no way. Forget about that. I was sitting in my room, and I was playing my guitar, and please wait for me, for I shall return. My love for you will forever burn. I had just met a girlfriend down there. We were ready to leave, and she was in love with me. She was still in college. And so when we had to leave, she said, I want to miss you. I want to go with you. I said, you can't go with us. But I don't want to say goodbye. And came out of me and said, lovers never say goodbye. And she said, oh, that was beautiful. Thank you. But when I said it, I heard something in my head, a song. And once she left, I called Paul to my room. I said, check this out. And I played Lovers Never Say Goodbye. And he loved it. And the group loved it. And we had an offer when we left Miami. We had an offer in New York at Decca Records. They were with Chess Records, but they really got ripped off. They didn't get any money and no real respect. And so Decca Records called and talked with Jake and said, we're interested in recording, Negro groups, and we heard that you guys are really good, and we'd like to make an offer for you. Jake took care of business, and we signed a contract. They took us in the studio, and all these white musicians, and pristine. They were just excellent. But the harmonies that we were singing to these songs, that they picked a lot of songs for us, and then we had a few of our own. All the harmonies that we recorded, they pushed that down in the track and put like 3 white girls doing harmony behind us. They changed our style. They wanted us to sound white. It just didn't fit us. And not only that, but we weren't happy because like, wait a minute, that's not us. That's not the Flamingos sound. And found out while we were there that Nate Nelson, he had not left the Flamingos, but he had signed the contract with Chess Records, and his contract wasn't up yet. So when they found out that we were with Decca, they called Decca and threatened to sue them because Nate had a contract with them. So that kind of made everything just go willy-nilly. So they gave us a release right away and said, well, we can't handle you guys, and we're going to get sued from Chess because Chess was a big label. We left Decca, and I just started writing songs.
So the group eventually left Decca Records, and you became a part of End Records. Can you take me through how all that unfolded?
We were walking down, I remember in New York City, 55th Broadway and 50th was the Brill Building. That's where all the record companies and writers and producers, this one big building was known for having the best, record companies and the whole deal. So Richard Barrett saw Jake and he said, hey man, how you guys doing? He said, we're doing good. He said, I heard you went with Decca. He said, yeah, but Decca, they didn't give us a good deal. They tried to make us sound white. So he said, now End Records, which Richard Barrett was a A&R man, they had Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers. They had Little Anthony and the Imperials, the Chantels, the Crows. They had about 5 or 6 acts that they had signed with them. So they said, let me talk with George. He said, maybe we can get you guys a deal here. So we were looking for another place anyway. So, okay, George Goldman liked us. And when he heard our songs, and he heard "Are You Sorry," he said, "That's a nice song." He said, "You wrote this?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "So, in other words, you're the musician for these guys. You show them what you." I said, "Yeah." He said, "All right, I'm gonna sign you. I want you to be the musical director. I'm gonna bring stuff to you, and you learn it, and you show it to the guys, and bring it to me, and see what we can do." Okay, I said, sounds good. And the guys, nobody could play an instrument anyway but me. So they were for it. We signed with End Records, and the first song was Lovers Never Say Goodbye. The song I wrote in Miami. And it did really well for us, really well. And it was our first song, and a lot of DJs heard it and liked it and said, who are these Flamingos? I like that. That don't sound like the old Flamingos that we remember. This sounds a new sound altogether. And so he called me in the office. He said, Terry, here's what I want to do. He said, the Platters are the biggest group happening right now. And as you know, they sing like old standards, like all their songs, the older music. He said, I want to try something. He said, I want to get some songs and I want to record an album. Never recorded an album on anybody on this label. So I want to try something. He said, I like you guys. He said, I like you. He said, you know what you're doing. He said, Rich and I are going to go pick out some songs, and I'm going to bring it back to you. And then we're going to pick out about 12 or 13 songs. And so they brought back 33 songs. They went to Sam Goodies, which is a music store. They had the records, they had the sheet music, and so they brought back the sheet music, and they brought back 33 songs. He said, can you change this around and put your own touch on it? I said, piece of cake to me. I mean, I was bold. And so the 32 songs I did back. So easy, piece of cake. I taught it to the guys. Everybody was happy. It was one song. This one song was not, I didn't have a taste for it. It was wrong. I didn't like the chord changes. And it was in a movie in the 30s and 40s, and it was just it was like a la-di-da song, la-di-da-di-da-di-da. I didn't like it, and so like I had an appointment. We had a session for the next day, and this last song I just didn't like it. It must have meant something. And so Nick was playing with me, and he said, man, why are you taking so long? I said, I just don't like it. I don't like the way the chord structure is, and it just sounds so corny. He said, I got an idea. He said, why don't you do it like, remember that song, the Vogel Broke song, pull away now. Dun, 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 dun. He bust out laughing because he was joking. And I said, get out of my house. Get out of my room. Get away from me. You know, so we were laughing. And so I had a habit of playing my guitar on my chest and laying down in the bed. And I'd be playing my guitar. And I was trying to find some kind of chord. I fell asleep. And this is the truth. I heard it. I was dreaming, but I couldn't see anything. I heard this music. It was ethereal. It was so, I just got chills talking about it right now because I remember what happened to me when I heard it. And I heard this music. I heard the structure of the harmonies. I heard what the bridge would sound like. And I woke up and my hands were on the guitar. Whatever my hands went to is what I heard in my dream. So I know God had given me this. This was a gift from God. I called the guys. It was 4:00 in the morning. I said, come to my room. I got the last song. No. I said, look, we're going to the studio tomorrow. We have a session. We got to go. And I'm in charge. We got to do this. Oh, man. It can't be. I said, no, I don't have any way to. We didn't have cassette players or anything that you could record right on the spot, you know, because the cassettes weren't out then. And so I showed him what it was, and I gave each guy his part, and the harmony was beautiful, it was ringing. And when it was over, I said, so what do you think? He said, it's garbage. Garbage? No, man, no. God gave me this song. Can't you hear this? He said, Buzzy, I'm going to listen to something like that. They don't have nothing like that out here. You know, there's no songs like that out. I said, I don't care. This was inspired. I was inspired by this. Something happened that gave me this. They were like, no. I said, look, you have to be there. So our appointment was at 12:35 for our session. And we went there, and I was singing it, and then Nate, something happened to my throat. I got hoarse or something, whatever it was. And Nate said, but let me try it, because he liked it. He was the only one that kind of leaned toward it. And he sang the lead, did the backgrounds, everything, and showed the musicians what I wanted. And he played, I like that. It's different. And when we finished, the engineer was crazy. He said, man, this is a hit. And the guys looked at me like, this is garbage, man. This is SHIT. This is nothing. And I felt really bad, but like I said, I don't care, you know. It's recorded now, so, you know, it's up to George Goldner. He's the president of N Records. George came into town, and a few days later, he called me down to his office. He said, Terry, come down to my office, please. I said, sure, George. I thought he was going to tell me, you know, good job, because we did the album and everything was really nice. He said, have you lost your mind completely? I said, beg your pardon? What the hell are you doing, Terry? He said, what? He said, why would you do this to this beautiful song? Look at what you did to this song. He said, this is not a 50s song. Nobody in the 50s would buy this. I said, well, George, I don't know, but I got it in a dream, man. It came from God. He said, God, get out of here. He said, look, I tell you what. I'm taking privileges from you. I know I gave you, you know, the right to go in the studio with or without me. He said, but from now on, you don't go in that studio without me or Richard. He said, and you got to run everything by me before you go in there. Have you got that straight? He said, because if you do something like this, he said, I'm really pissed off with you, Terry. I'm really pissed off. You're making me spend my money on garbage. He said, but since the album is ready, and I'll take a shot with this one and put this on the Flamingo Serenade. That was our first album. I was hurt, and I walked back. I'm sorry, George. Don't be sorry. Don't ever do anything stupid like that again. And the album came out, and the song that was supposed to be released was "Good Night, Sweetheart, Shall We Meet Tomorrow?" And they was putting all the money behind that, putting a bet on that one. But the DJs heard the song I had in my dream. And one guy from New York called this other guy in Philadelphia. And before we knew it, Philadelphia called Baltimore, and Baltimore, Richmond, Virginia, and then on down south. And then it started spreading west. And when it hit L.A., the song was a #1 smash. It was I Only Have Eyes for You.
So following the success of your biggest hit, I Only Have Eyes for You, what happened to the band? What was the story after that?
Okay. We got really huge in the recording industry. Everybody knew who we were. Everybody knew we had this new song, and nobody could figure out, because the way I structured the harmony, you couldn't just sit down and do it, because it wasn't like anything that was ever done before. Okay, so we go through our thing. Tommy Hunt wanted to be a superstar. Paul Wilson and I, George, the first song was like Love Is Never Say Goodbye, and then But Not For Me, and then Love Walked In. They were all duet. And Tommy Hunt, he was jealous because like Nate was singing the other. In other words, we had 4 lead singers in the Flamingos: Paul Wilson, Nate Nelson, Tommy Hunt, and myself. Jake and Vic just sang the background. So Tommy Hunt was jealous because like I was getting overplayed with the duets. And so George called me in the office and said, Terry, you did a good job. I want to let you know. But first of all, when I went in, he said, Terry Johnson, come in my office. I went in and I said, hi, George. I thought he was going to yell at me. He said, Terry, I just want to say one thing to you. I said, yeah, what, George? He said, anytime you want to go in that studio with or without me, anytime you want to go in that studio, you go. You have my permission to do whatever you want to do, the way you want to do it. I love what you did. And matter of fact, I want to talk to you about our next release. He said, you think that since you came up with this Only Have Eyes for You, the way you changed it around, is it any way that you could maybe write another song similar to this, with the same, not the same chords, but that same ethereal type sound that you gave Only Have Eyes for You? I said, I can do anything, George. Give me a little bit of time. It took about maybe a week and a half, and Nate Nelson and I sat down, and he heard my ideas. He said, well, George said something about doing in another language, but I don't think he meant for us to sing in another language. I think he meant for us, the title of the song. So we're going to call it My Love. So we called George and said, George, what about a song called My Love? He said, that's a good idea, but let's do it in Italian. Let's call it Mio Amore, which means my love. I said, oh, I like that. So we recorded it. It's very similar to Only Have Eyes for You, a little bit more beautiful, I thought, but can't knock Only Have Eyes for You. After it was out, it was doing excellent for us. It was climbing up the charts. It was almost number 1. And Tommy Hunt decided that he was going to do his own single. So he kind of left the group. He didn't have a driver's license, so we had a Cadillac and a Buick station wagon that we would, our luggage and the things would be in, and Cadillac for, just the luxury, and we could afford it. And he was in charge of picking out the shirts and outfits. He was a clothes man, and we were in Pittsburgh, and he wanted the car to go down to Pittsburgh to pick up the shirts that we had ordered, a Billy Eckstein type shirts. And they said, no, Tom, you don't have a license. You get in an accident, you can get us in trouble. No. So he got really angry. So I said, I'll take you, Tommy. He said, okay. So when we were in the car, he said, I don't like this. This is nothing. This is garbage, man. My money's, this was a 6-way partnership. We all 6 ways. Our monies went in together to get the things that we got. And he said, my money's in here, and I can't even drive a car that my money's paying for. I said, well, Tommy, you don't have a license. See, I don't care. My money's in there. I said, I'll take you down. Let's get you a license. I don't want a license. I want to be able to drive. So he was being very stubborn and very childish. And the next thing we knew, he had next door to N Records was Scepter Records, which had Dionne Warwick, or Bacharach was the writers in there. And Richard, I can't remember his name. Luther Dixon. He was an A&R man for Scepter Records, and he was tight with the president, Florence Greenberg. And he said, Tommy, what you doing, man? He said, I'm leaving the group, man. He said, hey, man, I got the song for you then. He said, come over to Scepter. He said, we're hot, man. We're hot. Dionne, she's on the top, man. And we got I can't think of all the names of everybody that was with the Scepter, but Tommy Hunt left us, went to Scepter, and so we kind of like were disappointed. One monkey can't stop the show is what we said, but we started having arguments within the group of whose fault it was, why Tommy left. And I told him what he told me about the car, and they said, well, that's not good enough. So it just got ugly. They was accusing me of wanting to be with the Treniers, which Treniers had a ready-made group. But what are you talking about? I said, I'm here. He said, yeah, but we heard you talking with them. I said, look, what are you getting down to? So it got stupid. And I got my own group in Philadelphia called Terry Johnson and the Modern Flamingos.
We're almost at the end of the program, Terry, but I just wanted to draw attention to your newest music, and your newest single is Live Your Life Today. Can you take me through how that song came to be?
Well, the songwriter and Teresa, we are songwriters and producers and artists, so we just needed songs. So first we put up old songs that we did, but we were working the cruise lines and just, Little Richard stuff and Ray Charles. And then we started writing our own original stuff. And Friday night, I had a few before Friday night that you didn't hear. Knock Knock Let Me In really did 1.5 million in Europe. So that really put us on the road to recording ourselves.
Hi, Jack.
Oh, g'day.
Terry just pointed at me and said, do I have anything to add? When COVID happened and all the shows that we had booked got canceled, I said, well, let's do something else. So we started we never had time to really cultivate a lot of the catalog that we already had. So we produced, I said, let's start a YouTube channel, and YouTube in the interim joined everything that we were doing with the Flamingos name, because we started out with our Hot Fun Records label as the label, but then we just kept writing and kept putting stuff out there. I'm assuming, did you hear the stuff there in Australia? Because we got a lot of good counts in Australia, because we got 2 more out now.
Oh,
we did
okay.
a cover of Just My Imagination, the Temptation song, but it's like very, very different. It's not like that. It's the song, but it's not like that song. It's very different. And then we put out a song that I had done, sort of like a punk, pop rock type of thing. And we've got Say Yeah. That's the title of that one, Say Yeah. And I don't know if you visited our channel on
YouTube.
The YouTube channel?
Yeah, definitely. I have. Yep.
Okay. Well, those 2 are there. They're on the top of the list there when you first get on. But yeah, we've got a bunch of. We're like a assembly line right now, because we're just loving the fact that we've got all this time, and we traveled 46 years with me and he and I, and then all that traveling before me. So we really just relished the opportunity to be here and chill and be in our studio in our house and just crank out stuff that we really like and we love and put them out there, and we're having a great time with that, so that's how it's kind of evolved.
I want to just thank you both for making the time to talk with me, and big thanks to you, Terry, and
So I hope you enjoyed it.
That was member of the Flamingos, Terry Buzzy Johnson. If you'd like to check out more of Terry's work with the Flamingos, you can head to the band's website at theflamingos.com. Remember to share this episode with other music fans, and if you really enjoyed this edition, we'd love it if you leave a review. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Vinyl Vibes, and to all you music lovers out there, stay groovy.